Welcome back to the farm. My name is Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. It's been another good week weather-wise, cooler mornings with cloud cover, not a lot of wind, and then in the afternoon the sun comes out. There's still been a little bit of a breeze, which has been cool. So if you're not in direct sun, it hasn't been too hot. But as soon as you get out in that sun, you can just feel it beating down on you. So it's been mornings of a little bit of farm work and then afternoons for craft and inside things. Having said that, there hasn't been a lot of new or different farm work happening around here. Plenty more spraying. We spent another morning out in the bush area tackling the other part that we did last year. So we're able to get further up into the bush. We could sort of see where we had been. Some of that had been stomped down by animals or by rain or by logs falling or whatever. So we were able to get up a little bit further into those sections. So that was really good. And you can see the progress that we're making. And we also tackled the top of our hill in the bush as well. So we took about a half tank of the spray unit. We just didn't think that we'd be able to pull the full 600 litres of water up the hill. And we started at one end and just gradually moved the vehicle along and tried to spray as much of the top of the hill as we could. There were some quite large clumps, but there were also just lots of little outcrops. So we were able to tackle all of that, which was really great. And then we started down the hill towards the section that we sprayed on one of the first days this time around, near the road that was really quite thick. And we started to tackle it from the other end, so sort of from the top down. We didn't get very far because we'd already done the whole of the top of the bush by then, so we didn't have a lot of water left. So we're going to have to now wait to sort of see the first effects of the poison on the blackberries this time. So then we know where we're up to and we can go back in and do some more. But every little bit helps, and we are definitely making some progress. We probably do need to tackle our dam paddock. There are a few larger sections, but mainly it's just those little bits and pieces again. So it'll be driving around and spot spraying. But yeah, we've made a lot of progress in a very short space of time. As you know, I spend the evening out with the sheep in their paddock. Part of my routine is to water the trees that are in their area. Just trying to encourage them along, doing the best I can to get them to grow as quickly and as well as possible to establish them to be quite strong. I noticed this week that one of them is actually flowering. So I'm assuming that means it's doing quite well. I think the extra barrier of fence that I put around has really helped. The sheep are not able to get all the way in like they were before, and they are really starting to get some good growth. While I'm out there, I have also been really fascinated with the sunsets every night. They're just so amazing and beautiful and different every single time. The sun sets over our bush hill, and you can see the silhouettes of the trees and the shards of sunlight coming up through the clouds. It is just really pretty, and I enjoy that quiet time out there. Sometimes I don't take my phone, so there's no pictures. It's just me and the sheep and nature. But sometimes I do, and I did take a few photos this week. I've talked about my sample squares a little bit, about my repeatable colorways page and creating those bloom sample squares that I use to keep track of all of my colors. This week I looked at my spreadsheet and I updated to make sure which ones I had photos of, which ones I had put on the website, and which ones I still needed to make color samples for. So there, as I said, it's been grey mornings, so I was able to take photographs of the ones that were still missing photos, which were quite a few. I don't know what I had done. I'd obviously done them in batches and just missed a whole section. So I did all of that. And then I was really aware of which ones I was missing. And one of the colorway series that I've done is called My Country, which is based on the poem by Dorothea McKellar. And I have dyed a colorway from each verse. So there's a colorway for each of the verses. So I had done a color sample for the first two verses for Brown Streams and Soft Dim Skies and for Jewel Sea. But I hadn't done the next three. So this week I dyed each of those colors on sock yarn. Previously, I'd only had it dyed on my tendril base, which is the alpaca merino nylon blend. But now I've done it on the just merino nylon, and the colors have come out quite vibrant and really different, but still the same, but just a different hue, I guess, on the color. It's much brighter. So I dyed a full batch of each of the colors, but I also remembered to put in a little mini skein so that I had enough to be able to knit up my sample. Now, what I've done so that I don't forget this from now on is I've got my spreadsheet and I've got it all marked out. And I also have a little box of mini skeins ready to go. So when I am dyeing a color and if it's like dyed to order and I see that I haven't done a sample for it, I can grab one of those little mini skeins and just pop it into the batch. Hopefully, I will end up having them all done reasonably soon. I'm close. There's only a few now that I don't have a sample for, and I'm going to work towards getting those done. So I dyed each of those colors this week, and I now have my little mini skeins here that I can show you. So this one is Grey Clouds Gather. So it's got a bright blue section, then it's got a section of sort of grey and white, and then it's a darker grey on the other end. Then there is Orchids Deck the Treetops. So it's sort of a yellowy green to represent the foliage, and then there are sections of a light purple and a light pink. So it's sort of quite a subtle colorway. There you go, there you can see some of the pink there. And the final one I did is Rainbow Gold. And it is, as you can see, a bright yellow, golden yellow, with speckles of all of the colors of the rainbow through it. So I will be making these samples shortly, and I have the full skeins drying right now, so they will be reskeined and photographed and hopefully up in the shop very soon. And the reason that I do the knitted up samples is that the yarn can look quite different in the skein, in the ball, and worked up. So it's good to be able to see it a couple of different ways so that you can really see what the color looks like. And it's also a really good reference point for me to, when I do another batch, to make sure that it looks as close to the original as possible, because when I sell the full skeins and I don't have any left to be able to sort of have that true reference point. This week was the first Unwind Wine and Cheese night for the year, so it was great to go and catch up with everyone and sit and do a little bit of craft and to talk about craft. I hardly ever get any knitting or crochet done while I'm there. It needs to be an absolutely mindless project so that I don't ruin something, and that I can just pick up and put down and it really doesn't matter. So this week I decided to take with me my granny stripe blanket. Yes, it's finished, but I hadn't woven in all of the ends. I had literally left it sitting from when I showed it to you last time when I finished it, and I hadn't woven them in. So I thought, that's a really easy job to do while I'm sitting and talking, and it doesn't take a whole lot of concentration. So I have now, here it is again. Really love it. I've now woven in all of the ends. I've tied knots in all of them, so I know that they're all done. All I need to do now is go through and clip them all and just double check if I find any that don't have knots and make sure that they're done. But I got it done so quickly sitting there talking, it just took my mind off the boringness of doing the weaving in the ends. So that might be a trick of what I take with me to unwind from now on for my craft days, is just some of those finishing kind of projects, so that I can get them done without really thinking about them. So this is going to now go on the end of my bed, and I'm really pleased that it's done. It is just, it makes me happy. Then once I had finished weaving in the ends last night, I just picked up my Feels Like Home socks and just worked a few rows on that. Really not much at all. I spent most of my time just chatting and laughing and looking at other people's projects. During the week, I did a little bit of work on my 2 at a time socks. I have knit to the heel, and just as I got to the heel, and I've kind of made them a little bit shorter in the foot than I would normally, but I think they'll stretch out. I ran out of this color, the kelp, I think it is. So I have found this ball of yarn, which has got sort of the similar color blue in it, and I wound it into a cake so I can pull from both ends. And I have just done the heels, and I'm about to start going back in the round again. So I haven't decided how long I'm going to make these yet. Probably keep them reasonably short, so probably only another couple of centimeters, just enough to have them sit properly in your shoe. Because I really want these needles so that I can knit up the samples with my recently dyed yarn, and I need this size needle to be able to do those squares. And the last thing I'll show you today is the tiny bit of progress that I've done on my Mrs. Tumnus shawl. You probably aren't going to see the difference, but I can really now see the lace pattern coming together. It is just at that level now where it has really established itself. I think I've done about 3 rows since the last time I showed it to you. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but there's over 400 stitches on the needles. So it does take quite a while to get through a row, and I'm not rushing it. I'm actually enjoying doing this really slowly, so that I get it right and so that it comes out as a really lovely lace shawl. This top that I'm wearing today is called Arlene, and I knit it back in 2013. Wow. I think it was one of the very first top-down jumpers that I'd made for myself. And I still have it. It's an 8-ply, so it's sort of a bit of a weird one in terms of when you wear it, because it's short sleeve, but it's quite thick as a summer top. And I just knit it out of Peyton's Superwash 8-ply. They're really pretty buttons. I'll pop a photo in because you won't be able to see them from this far away, but I really like the detail of the buttons on this. And I'm really happy with how it's lasted and worn really well. For something that was knit quite a long time ago now, it still looks really good. I read back through my notes and I didn't get proper gauge, so I had to do some messing around with the raglan increases and the numbers. But as I've experienced with other top-down raglan tops, I tend to find that I need a little bit more length through here than the pattern calls for most of the time, and a few extra stitches under the arms. So the fact that I did that way back then with this pattern, I'm pretty proud of myself for having made it fit me, and now that's just how I make my tops for myself. So yeah, this one is an oldie but a goodie. That's it for this week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.